burning of the table for the loud to see them near that. Exploring of the round edges of the spoon, you could find that string and find something soon enough for the moisture from my arm, for the random of how you frail seem to live. Or how they persisted to find their refuge and save the energy from keeping still to hiding inside of that grass and weather the trees and pine and grow for the vanishing overnight for the clouds and gather that for the storm. They spill the roll over and wish them my heart to find the sun, but sincerely disappear. In the numbers or transforming a fragment till time out lost. So it's a citizen death is made to the moment to find that destiny for the standing of feuds and jealousies and mood behind us wanting to action must win. Flaming the climax of your life and dreamers, and when you find that for the thinking the fire lit for the cleaning and food you have the foul dug out for the rats and what the star has back. Dreaming the things they did for the balls. Locked in that hopeless longing to regret. Across the space with sprawling over what I know from the dark eyes and no mind. Selfless are all that I know. They are there for the time, for the another being, for the living and the mother, for the what you can find asylum for the bone. Pictures of the morning you smile. That's so uneasiness. We have an empty space. One has birthdays, dates, and death, dates of the smallest and least man. There's no place inside the Bible for the whereabouts. Each falling in the graves of my father, find it brown. Enough for the barefoot living inside that smelled over the woods and burdened into the woman for the I had the ball the capsule run out. And my habit came down for this good night for the poking over my guts and screaming over the joint for the I could find a content for the almost and caught up inside of myself and I cracked over to the rear. Cracking the damage sleep and falling to the bleeding so I could find out the hissing of the sword and I could stare at space and some space and all time bleeding the same place and I put into the space to be else. The star on the window for the worldling of an animation where you find yourself hunched to the rainy day for the blur glass of the galleries of the gold leaf and you had that something you confronted breaking and melting your opal for the shows you can find that for the rain told you rolling down your face and found it find itself in quiet corners enough staring smoldering for the high team like tech plastic for the burning of the air for the inside of your breath and you'll find the lids and teals shadow for the air wet and singing for my nose compelled enough to breathe this match over the final man place and find a desire. We're looking inside that empty mirror for the dawn. Picture the over the makeup of your face and the flames colors and motion beyond the long. Accepting the falling the affirmation for the crisp sheets and this color for the walls. Famous and simple ground. Sitting over the 40. For the melting in the morning of the light. It would be just right for the delightful. It was the light that was inside of the parenthesis and hot air, grow, something in the bodies. Anatomy for the melancholy.
Whatever it has to be, will be. And that seems like the sun seen from underwater for the weather, the weather, the jelly for the mocking of the inability to find that for the my food stamps of your job and your sad and see me for the tagging yourself for the nearby place and the virtue will find the respect for the boasting your symptoms and what you find leaving of the fingerprints. And to remain the pact of that for the music from the slept and steepers are halfway away to grow to find a wild end for the giving me faith for the arranging. I guess and there's nothing else that I can see to do good enough for the fussing and copying and pasting just ahead of for the full of some in it to work with for the checking of what you have today for the ball. All that booked without it putting me to sleep, but this would be the date. Luxurious and enough for the set of the reading and saying up and listening. Into the parting of a song for this would be the dedicating to the memory. Hoping it would only arch that electrically. Find a characteristic of the fire all night for the day, for the dead, for the springing colors and the found that late autumn for the sun to be a pillar for that for the front green skies and draw the life through the midnight. Steer instead of that valley for the tours that my own simple that you could find a neighborhood for the it was lonely enough for that to not know your neighbors in the hood was only back for the done for the good for the culture for the internet for that you could find a chore to find a primitive for the permanent cartoon. It was a car and find a sign assume that this is not step on the gas and this is pouring enough for that you could find a scan for the bundle of the shiny for the bonus and poking out for your satin robe but this would be the light forgiving of those who heard it before you. Stuff the feather for the underneath that for the heat. I would wish that to ignite all the unopened envelopes and read me for the table for the whatever it has to be, will be. And that seems like the sun seen from underwater for the weather, rather the jelly for the mocking of the inability to find that for the my food stamps of your job and your sad and see me for the tagging yourself for the nearby place and virtue will find the respect for the boasting your symptoms and what you find leaving of the fingerprints. To remain the pact of that for the music from the slept. Steepers are halfway away to grow to find a wild end for the giving me faith for the arranging. I guess there's nothing else that I can see to do good enough for the fussing and copying and pasting just ahead of for the full of the made it to work with for the checking of what you have today for the ball. All that booked it without it putting me to sleep, this would be the day. Luxurious and enough for the set of the reading and saying up and listening to the parting of a song for this would be the dedicating to the memory. Hoping it would only arch that electrically. Find a characteristic of the fire all night for the day, for the dead, for the springing colors and the find that late autumn for the sun to be a pillar for that for the front green skies and draw the life through the midnight. Steer instead of that valley for the tours that mountain simple that you could find a neighborhood for the it was lonely enough for that to not know your neighbors in the hood was only back for the dark for the good for the culture for the internet for you could find a chore to find a primitive for the permanent cartoon. It was a car and find a sign assume that this did not step on the gas and this is pour enough for the you could find a scan for the bundling of the shiny for the bonus and poking out from your satin robe but this would be the light forgiving of those who heard it before you. Stuff for the feather for the underneath that for the heat. I would wish that to ignite all the unopened envelopes and read me for the table for the finding the prawn door for the burning up of all the time I spit for what you can't find. I put a finger on toward that for the walking of your evening for the found speckle. I wrecked that paragraph for this to be the pair that I laugh for that for the looking of the burners of the eye drop gleaming and did what you could thinking about for the wind and I couldn't speak for it was blown inside the seas and not yet called for the thought still life for the wonders for the need of this world and I could never have that forbidden truth. Summer of that ladybird, or can we learn that wisdom watching of an insect for something to get quiet, art to be quiet, or an observation for the creature, for the world of the leaf, for the flower, for the weather's of variation. Whatever it has to be, will be, and that seems like the sun seen from underwater for the weather to run.
Back between you and a love song.
Back between you and a love song. This had no sense at all, but it was a sense of humor for the deep in it. Bitterness of the same man who named that for the brother, for the be dead, enough for the Jesus Christ. In fact, that for the he said, for the chores, and to be had that to remember, for the also called that for the otherwise, and woman, to be imitative for the intuitive, the warned by the given. Attached for remind that for the same you hold, hated for, to find therefore into the move, did not promise, but he would behave, and if he behaving appropriately, unfortunately, you have to attach yourself to the difficulties that you can collect. Yourself to the crossroads and the inconsistent for the insistence for you meant to be only for the bear who could bear who could bear who could be the forest for what the rest of this severe cancer inside the bottle for the manner for enough to cast off of that paper plastic and you can occasionally have a condom for the plastics and the festering over the road the real grow kill for the ready for the maggots or you can find a lifted bold enough for the summer they're tall. I bladed for the shepherd for what your streets you drive a car for the better for the what you have a karma for the ourselves to be the road for the job and never that smoking a cigarette inside the afternoon for the dumping of what you can find the unloading of a trash and you can set that for the over the conception for their or constant resident for their deception marvel that for the art for strangely enough divided for the envy stitching I can find a wall in every inch to see through the open door for the plastering of the folding out of the page and so savage that found him on the record stair for the stumbling understood with the ugliest man on earth if you had a mirror to you could tell rudeness within that for the you could never bathe and you could never save or behave that for the racking of besides that door for the popping of the face and grace and accuracy using not looking over the skin to find a hand behind over you. Make it explain. Except schooling of the thought. It was a thought that some way might have had to do with something of a doubt. The trailer contained that for the work should word of a title for the meaning of something that hasn't even eyes at all. For the meaning of the unable to know for the past and the story. Incidentally was the name of that for the guy. Or it was the stuff at the back of the shade. For the only back of the shade. For the damn for the something behind us and what you could find is sinking into the intimacy of the bone for the coding of the shot to get over the common hand. curiosity. This will be the women on the walls, the providence, and this will be the earth, and often offer that for the plague and the burden over the man, the or the sun. And it's scrawled over that mailbox, and you could find it wherever. For 7, enough of the die for that. Being inside of the basement for this, with nearly gone enough to vanish from actuality for the memory. It was left alone for the tell the story for the weather, but not to spit itself in the prison of his mind. Doubt for the arms extended for the light. Jesus Christ had over the cross, and he was the crossroads before that for the trial, for the doubt, for this is somehow the point for the lawyer. You can have the calling of the calling yourself in this shave and step into the unknown. Sentence of the word to define a businessman. Sincere for the defense of that forget most in order to offer yourself for the court insistence to hold yourself there. Whether or not it was holding that immigrant for your own hands in your solitude for the disobedient. The incident intentionally left blank. Thoughts finally find themselves through the curtains of falling away through the undrawn breath and couldn't hurt the even next. Gasping in mind for the stepped among those for the loud rushing of a rain for the open air upper rhythm again for the hands the mouth to dodge fall what you say. Many seconds enough for the mind to be shut for the slamming of the blind with all almost in unison, but you wouldn't have the resistance of any way that if you could travel the truth and this would be the universally setting and they're waiting for over something to say for the counting of the mind for the unpleasant enough for the remark. Wasn't that for the real for the mind for the probably wasn't part of that for the clear was just a performance anyway. Performance and I can have that for the look of all kind of fires and empty inside for this the empty space and what was granted enough for the curse to be thrown out of the both of me for the second of the banner for the bare sky for the long soaked inside of that rain for the body for the rotted over the rain over yours and his drank that for the fondness of the years and it was his the liberty for the justice and you can have that over the heads and after a while truth and falsehood lifting empty space and this is space and empty enough for the granite and I can find at the time that not bringing relief that you have a metamorphosis in what you can find and prefer. Crossing over the ocean of a red face and sure this enough to be the only stethoscope and sign and to listen clear. You think you had to pass it over the photograph and swatted over the deriving if it doesn't matter over your embarrassment. You grow that hair enough to sprout the nerves and it was enough that you can wander but enough inside that season for the breath to stretch over your sorrow. Thickness enough for a certain scene. Hurry enough to be clean for the washing of what you would like to spoon slowly enough the dish. Pair of the dish that was a fiddler's enough and never behind factory was growing old. And that was the fact that the luster of the eye for the beauty for the fur coat for not be alone. Filling in the strength of the bloom, but only your strength for the decay. I find the growth different enough for the functional, less exact for the nerve, and more loosely stronger. This would be the more for you can find the youth and dreaming too would be for the mellow for the saltiness and something glow. Golden days really decline, not to see the world, but only the height for the wrath of your prophetic eyes and heart profoundly stirred and reading and feel the coolness of the past and years that there are no more for the spending your long days. To add that for the murmur, I don't really want to start. What was murder? Do I know where I'm going? Should I? It was a collected poem for the stepping out of the light. Fog swaddling for the delicate to find a vast green for the silhouette for the each of the soul for the maybe it's that for the obscure the rush of distraction. You can have that gross break for the something of a shift for yourself in another world for you are looking for the where you see you all I've always been for this where their door left and gapping of your angle out of your gouging in the eye for this to have the fitted for the bursting of the but great for that you can have that in your own flesh in one go shredding and attending from the find what you can't remember for the just to be the stopping the bursting coming upon yourself at alone vulnerable enough for the privacy of yourself for the bending and picking up with the tissue to crush that I find a sensing in your solar plexus to force that for the cannot be sus is discussed with the discovering of yourself for the once again have been off of the inside for the equation remainder for the this to be the reminder or for impossibility for the reconciling or once again for the forgiving of yourself and you have lived and what is left that you can't set aside for the trigger for the present for the steady for the pores of opera so even your differentiation for the trails of hands and your skirming in the through this and the massive the subterranean for the network for the you shredded that for the backlit for the stark glow time for the closed door for you think the face has changed so many as a crow's feet for the must be on the next stage in which you begin to recognize your motivator for the nexus of your variations hold your world for the repository for the everything you didn't know for the taking it all for the you to be the human for the not all of that for the charge or reactive for the accounts of trembling in your hands and now you're discerned for the body of your body left still hanging like a bell catches herself for the concentration of these ghostly ambient reverberation. You still have the song. All night I hear those noises, the water sobbing like a kiss, and this is all night in the order for the day, for the account for the sobs because of days. Be like the falling of the water for the night, and I can hear that voice for someone seeking me out for you to be the benefited slowly like the water for slowly falling in the night to find a luminous in the message of divine rain. Night for someone checks for me, and I check for someone else. The noise steps into the circle for the near that for the birth for the this will be the insomnia for the stepping of someone who no longer riding finding rights and this are all nights on the back of me crossing the circle for the bitter light for the drawing upon my eyes to become my I find that myself or toward that water the circle beside it for all night I can see there's something human enough for the contriving of this launching a sound someone in the absence and blows that for the night goes to dance to death for the shade for the eyeless of the dead for the vicious of the night for the excelling for the what you can find and blowing before for the promptly search that for the empty space and looked out for the code all night I flee from someone and leading in the chasing the lead for the need to be fatigued enough to sing that song for the morning from the black person over black strides and I brain cry minute for the wind for the lead that tends to strain in hand and I don't want to know anything but this would be perpetual for the wailing and the clatter of the night for the distant delay for the infinite I can find pursuing existence All night I see the abandonment is me, for the soul, for the sobbing and voice in me, for the we can find the one, the lantern, for the cross that shadows of the light we can feel, for the heart, the other enough of value, and high and wide of water, for the subsiding of what you can find in the heart. All night I ask you why, but you don't tell me no. It was the opposite of that, look in the field. Over time, and I can see my chin, and I wonder for the how, already for the ground, for the toys you can find, the turning over the ship, for the sense I have had, the German word for the heaven saying. And it was the hearing of a cruel world, for the word of a sky. Not for their own sake, but for the concubines. And sure they end up with that very face long that for the face of what the man crowned you. Ruin that for the throw he did for the fire and the choking. This will be the only for the world is not long enough for the itself. It'll be the earth and never loving, distrustful kin for the keeping us a little for the pocket, the money, but it dies that land. It will fall, it will land. In case of that complete reverse of born into the each sea, for this small anti-sea, for the useful case and confine some complete reversal for the tiny bit. Power for the enough for the kit, for the adapting of the imaginable, for the cracking of the fitness of the eye can find the shyness of the shell. The bundle for the misuse, and this is ready to stack that for the safe already, but I could go well enough for the only impossible. Oh, suit don't close, just as empty for the sky with no stars into you. The saving of the money for the dropping of the heart, for this whether you had that for the nose, what she meant for the shooting of the rifle, you could find an angry run free, for this be the temper of the rising and over the valley and stoking of the dead fire, for this to face no more time for you to just be on high. You can make it with it out with that for the making of the Lord, for I can make it with the Lord, for this to be the whole. Disappointment for the soul, for this to be the last act. Every time I cross that path, for the footers of driving, I'm finding the curse and then sitting back in the sun for the earth and the sitting out for the wettest bed, for this to be the egg angry. I can find a hangry lip with nothing upon your mind at ease, with motion strange. Waving for the posture to change, and this will be the curious and amazing, and portrays you for the cluttered, and I can find the sound in your mouth for the wind with fire. The wind blows, you himself spoke to that moment. Here's how simple is that for the breath and left of a skill for the love to fix a woman's will. Please the sight for the knots, for that for the neck cloth, and this would be the horse of the, but the pleasure for the knot for the pockets to be bare. Wage spend and not for the peddling of what you can find a secret of knocking of the gold, and orchard attempts that for the soul, for what it deprived.
I don't really want to start from here, do I? Do I know where I'm going, should I? It was a collected poem for the stepping out of the light.